we the women demand more elected women in decision-making bodies.
Where girls and women have equal access to quality STEM education.
Nous les femmes exigeons une équitabilité climatique.
I want to see a Nigeria where women are involved in all peace processes.
We want a world where women and girls with disabilities can participate actively in the decision-making processes.
We have to constantly listen to women and to hear what they say, and from there build out the solutions.
Welcome to the SDG Roundtable. My name is Anne-Marie, and I'm the Executive Director of the United Nations Office for Partnerships. In today's dialogue, we'll be sharing the results of the first ever We the Women Global Survey as part of our Women Rise for All initiative on women's leadership. We're in the second half of the Sustainable Development Goals. We are facing multiple crises, from conflict to climate crisis and gender inequality. This September, the United Nations will host the Summit of the Future. There is no better time to ask women around the world what are their priorities and expectations from world leaders and themselves to shape the future. I am joined today by Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed, Sima Bahous, the Executive Director of UN Women, and joining us online will be Svenja Schulze, Minister of Economic Cooperation and Development of Germany, Gabriella Gay, founder of the Erline Bradshaw Foundation, Angela Polinsky, UN volunteer for the We the Women campaign, and Alice Harding Shackelford, United Nations Resident Coordinator in Honduras. I'd like to first of all say, DSG, thank you so much for convening us. Women from 185 countries responded to our survey. Before we delve deeper into the results, as a champion for women's leadership, why are women's voices so important right now?
Incredible, and thank you for having me, and a big thank you to all those who participated in the survey and really gave us insights that many of those issues were a surprise to some of us. But to go back to your question, Anne-Marie, really the importance of ours is about our agency, it's about our rights, it's about leadership, it's about justice and inclusion. And in all of those issues, you can unpack them and speak to them over years, but they are framed in the SDGs, they are framed in many instruments that we have that protect women's rights. And what we really have to get on with is to implement them. And as I looked at this opening video, I thought what was positive about it was that women were positive about it. And so therefore our leadership, our advocacy, our voice is really important around these issues.
Thank you, DSG. Before we go further, let's hear a message from Minister Schulze from Germany.
Last year, I joined my friends Amina, Mohammed and Sima Bahous to launch #WeTheWomen to encourage other women and girls to serve as role models and leaders, to shine a light on women's stories. #WeTheWomen is about our collective commitment to empowering women. It is about our commitment to unlocking the potential of every girl to improve life for herself and her community. #WeTheWomen promotes a culture of sisterhood, celebrating the achievements of women who came before us and reminding us to open the door for the young women who will come after us. And I'm deeply impressed by how many women participate in the #WeTheWomen Global Survey, over 25,000 from 185 countries. 85% of the participants consider themselves to be women's rights advocates. 60% think that women will be better represented in leadership positions in the country within the next decade. And these numbers hold so much power. They show women around the world are calling for change, but they are also ready and willing to act, to fight for equal rights, resources, and representation. And that is an inspiring call to action for all of us. And I will continue to work hard together with Amina, Seema, and all my sisters at #WeTheWomen to answer this call to improve women's rights and gender equality. The findings of the survey will be crucial in helping us further refine our German feminist development policy agenda, which I presented last year. It is a cornerstone of our international support of partner countries. And I want to thank Amina Mohammed and Seema Bahous and everyone who supports #WeTheWomen.
Thank you, Minister. And now let's get into the data. The Sustainable Development Goals are our North Star for peace and prosperity. Women responding to the survey put as their top 3 global goals SDG 3 on good health, SDG 4 on quality education, and SDG 16 on peace, justice, and strong institutions. DSG, Executive Director, what does this tell you?
Well, I think those 3 goals did surprise me. I was expecting to see goal 5 in one of them, but I think that is understood as that cross-cutting for everything. But today, these are also the 3 goals that are being rolled back. We don't see the progress that we would like to see with access to health. And in particular, when we talk about from head to toe, it is also mental health, physical health, and within contexts. We don't look at the demographics, so health for a young woman is different for health for older people, and I think we've tended to put the whole in one health system, but we need specificity to that where women are concerned, and young people as well. And education, big, huge revolution happening in the transformation of education. How is the digital world going to come together in this clash of very different ways of imparting knowledge? And I would imagine that that's a big concern for people not to be excluded in this next era of the digital.
Seema, anything to add on anything that surprised you on this?
First of all, thank you very much, and thank you, DSG and Minister Schulze, for your leadership. And what I want to say is that we really need to get a closer look at the survey, because it did have many good takeaways for us on how women feel around the world. And I think 3 big takeaways I took from the survey. One is that women are realistic. They see the problems, they see the challenges, if we want to call them, and they see themselves as part and parcel of putting the solutions together. This is one thing that I take from it. The other thing I take is that women are and remain optimistic. And when women remain optimistic, it means that all these challenges that they have highlighted, the health, the education, even peace and security, also issues of climate, issues of inequalities, issues of unemployment, economic poverty, and so on and so forth, they know that these are surmountable, and they know that they will have a role to play in surmounting these challenges, and they know that they have unique and powerful ways of looking at these challenges and of helping to solve them. And the third thing that I take from this major survey is that women can lead, and they want to lead, and they know that they want to be part and parcel of the decision making. They want to be also part and parcel of accountability on helping all of us solve these problems. So basically, we need to be accountable to those women in helping them realize their dreams, in helping put the SDGs back on track, and in helping local leadership, global leadership of women. We've heard them say that they want to be at the table, they want to be in the decision making, they want to be included, and they are ready to deliver on that.
I love what you just said, and of the women can and want to lead, and the data showed us that the respondents said 85% consider themselves women's rights advocates, like taking that one step further. For you, what does that say about women's leadership, taking that to the next level, and what is it that we can do more to support women who are ready to take that step?
Women and women organizations want to be and know how they can be their own advocates and the advocates of their own rights and their own drives towards equality worldwide. And basically our role in all this is to be able, as I said earlier, to push forward with them, to push against the pushback that is happening, to push forward for what we believe needs to be done for them, to keep the way open for them. For example, legal issues, they need to be helpful to them, discrimination against them, violence against them. We need to work with these women, with these leaders, to be able to ensure that these women get what they want and are on the path that they want for themselves, their children, their communities, and also their countries and the world.
Thank you so much, Executive Director. And now I'm going to turn to our guests online. First to Angela. Angela, you were one of the more than 400 online UN volunteers that supported the first phase of the We the Women campaign and helped us share the survey widely. First of all, thank you for your help. And we are very excited to hear a little bit more about your experience and why was it important for you to be involved in the We the Women campaign?
Of course. First, thank you so much for this opportunity to work on the campaign and then also to speak in this forum right now. My involvement started upon learning about the We the Women campaign a few months ago, and its mission resonated so deeply with me that I wanted to get involved in absolutely any way that I could. By inviting women from diverse backgrounds to contribute their ideas and perspectives, the campaign not only amplifies their voices, but also fosters a sense of collective ownership over the global challenges that we face. I and the volunteers in my cohort were charged with disseminating the survey to make sure it reached as many women as possible. With over 400 volunteers across the world, the respondent pool was deeply diverse. In my respondent pool alone, participants varied considerably in age, ethnicity, socioeconomic background, education level, marital status, parental status, career level, and other factors. The respondents to the survey were overwhelmingly enthusiastic to participate. They commented to me that they rarely had an opportunity in their day-to-day lives to opine on these macro issues or reflect on their experiences as women. They had opinions, but they didn't know how to share them. They expressed deep gratitude that the United Nations created a platform like this for them to express their worldviews and have their voices heard. This task was deeply rewarding to me and reminded me of the strength of our communities of women to come together and support and advocate for each other. Thank you so much again for this opportunity.
Well, thank you very much. I just wanted to say that's exactly what we wanted to do, was not to have questions where we ticked a box, but after the question, more thought, more dialogue, more conversations, because these are critical issues. These are not your same old issues, but they are in a different context. And so people are really struggling, particularly after COVID, to have that space to really think about this. And so fantastic, thank you.
Thanks so much, Angela. And alongside the survey, one of the ideas that the DSG talked with us about was, again, to delve deeper, that the survey doesn't tell the whole story. And could we start to bring women together intergenerationally? And so we've been holding intergenerational dialogues in countries around the world to discuss some of these key issues a little bit more in depth. Gabrielle, you're an education activist from Barbados, and you recently participated in one of the We the Women intergenerational dialogues to discuss these kinds of challenges women are facing and their priorities for the future. The survey showed that climate change is one of the major concerns. 86% of women say they are affected by climate change or think they will be affected by climate change in the next decade. How does this resonate with you and your work, and how did you find that intergenerational dialogue that was held in Barbados? Gabrielle?
It is such a privilege to be here in this room with such incredible women. In small island developing states, the U.S. Agency for International Development also noted that these climate disruptions over time lead to poverty and migration for women and girls across and in the near future. But never fear, part of our solution was, our discussion, was the need and the propensity for great solutions and adaptation and mitigation in this regard. So what we really discussed was that combining Sustainable Development Goals number 4, which is quality education for all, and Sustainable Development Goal number 13, which is climate action, we can amalgamate and join education, awareness, and positive climate action for change by things such as climate literacy and climate justice programs that are aimed specifically at women and girls, of which we do also at the Irving Bradshaw Foundation, and projects such as the Caribbean Climate Justice Project and more. And then also enhanced dialogue. So, really engaging with segments such as this and having data with surveys such as the We the Women surveys, and then including and partnering with academic and institutions, NGOs, CSOs for increased anecdotal and academic research. And then finally, increased collaboration overall, but then also funding, because the economic disparity must be closed as well to then facilitate increased climate education and climate action initiatives so that we then create intergenerational climate crisis solutions for women and girls, not just now, but for the future.
Gabrielle, that resonates so much with all of us. And Alice, as the UN Resident Coordinator in Honduras, you recently hosted a We the Women intergenerational dialogue in your country. In the survey, in addition to climate change, women identify economic insecurity and gender inequality as major challenges they're facing. How have these issues been addressed in the conversations that you've had in Honduras?
Thank you very much. And from Honduras, I'm very, very proud to be representing the dialogue that we had with more than 20 women. We discussed about many different issues with the women in Honduras, and particularly the issue around care economy. So the reality is, as Migdonia, the director of the University Observatory Against Violence, indicates that violence, and in particular gender discrimination and violence against women and girls, is a reality, regardless of age, regardless of background. And women are victims and survivors of violence. The normalization of violence against women and girls, and in particular the normalization of femicides, is something of great concern. And how does this normalization happen? The women are telling us it happens. Why? Because 95% of the cases of violence against women and girls and femicides are left in impunity. And as Eva Sanchez, the leader of La Zormiga, from one of the indigenous groups of Honduras, they are very, very clear that the intersectionality plays another key role. If you are that, you are an indigenous woman. You are an indigenous woman with disability. You are an indigenous lesbian woman. Different level of intersectionality, which increase the issues and increase the huge discrimination and challenges of women. We heard also from the Garifuna, one of the Afro-descendant groups in Honduras, which is equivalent to around 6% of the population. Huge issue of discrimination with an institutionalized level of racism within institutions, within organizations, that make it very difficult for an Afro-descendant Honduran woman to get even listened at, if not attended in many cases. And Calixta Martinez, as I said, the Garifuna leader from the Atlantic coast, tell us that this affects also the issue around migration, because women, more and more women, mothers, single mothers, or family, or as part of members of families, try to make their way to the north in illegal migration. And I will end with Marcia, a young woman who says, independently from everything, we have to maintain hope. We have to maintain the passion and the commitment to make things happen. Thank you for listening to Honduras women, and thank you for replicating the voices around the world.
Thank you so much, Alice. Thank you, Gabrielle and Angela. You've given us so much to unpack, and we're running out of time, but I want to give a chance to both the DSG and the Executive Director to reflect on this, as well as something that we mentioned also in the very beginning around mental health being one of the obstacles that women recognize to being able, that's blocking them from realizing their full potential. A lot of heavy issues, but I loved what Alice said at the end, there's still hope. What are your reflections, DSG, and then Executive Director?
Well, my reflections are, also one of the things that I keep hearing when I visit countries from women who are taking the lead As one woman told me the other day, she said, there is nothing we women cannot do. And this is, I think, is a very inspirational and very important message coming from women to us, to all women around the world, on wanting to stay optimistic and doing what needs to be done, as I mentioned earlier. I think we have now upcoming Beijing Plus 30, where we are going to be looking at and evaluating what we have done with women, for women throughout the past 30 years, but also to see what are the next 30 years are going to bring for women, and what else needs to be included in our commitments, in the country's commitment, government's commitment, NGOs, private sector, everyone. What will be our commitments for women and girls in the next 30 years? So this is an important milestone that is going to happen as we move forward, and so does the Summit of the Future coming up in September. I just want to make a quick, maybe a brief remark on mental health. We know that this statistics is there. It is not surprising. We know that women are twice as likely to be in depression more than men, because of the inequalities they face, because of the hard life that they face, because their rights are not, fully exercised as men. Men take their rights for granted, while women have to continue to fight for their rights, to fight against domestic violence, to fight against violence. Even in crises and wars, we know that the brunt is paid by women and girls. So in general, I would like to say that, as I mentioned in the beginning, women are realistic, they are optimistic, and they are ready to take the lead, and we need to support them to do that.
How do I follow that? Look, let me speak frankly to mental health, because I think finally, after all these years, we put the head back on the body and didn't leave it in a corner of shame. And that is about our well-being from head to toe. And so important, because today we are faced with many different challenges, and maybe what brought this back to the fore were the incidences that came in the aftermath of COVID. And COVID really did underscore how this was an intergenerational issue. More than that, I think it made us think through how much mental health, particularly women, are left to recover with the rest of their lives in context of conflict. Terrorism, for me, a direct experience in Nigeria with Boko Haram. These are going to be girls and families that will go for the rest of their lives trying to heal. But more recently, the rapes in Ethiopia, in Tigray, in Sudan, coming across the border into Chad, with the horrors in Gaza that people are yet to come to an end with. We're still living in hope that that will happen. But also to talk about AI, the event of AI and social media, and what that's bringing, wreaking havoc in many women's lives. I do want to say that there are perhaps two aspects to this that we need to bring more to the fore. One is the demographic. And first of all, to say that while we see women probably suffering more, I think that there are many more men out there that we don't know about, because men don't talk about mental health. And I think the results of this are seen in gender-based violence. They're seen in many causes, symptoms that we see in societies with women. So really a big look at both men and women, especially women. The age demographic gives us great concern, because there are more young people who are coming forth with this, and a lot of it's got to do with our communities and our society, but they're stretched now with the challenges that come forth, and it's not everywhere in the world that you have your community at hand, and so therefore people are far more susceptible to mental health, and then just not to forget the aged. Because that's another demographic that survived on the community and on society, and who would put their mother away, not unless you really had no options and you thought there was a safer and better place, but not necessarily is it. So again, the aged, which is a huge demographic of 1 billion people or so. The other side to this is the spectrum of mental health, that we don't just put it in one box. Because, from anxiety to bipolar to many mental health illnesses, they're related to the physical, and to see that and to know that actually we don't have the answers. So a lot more money needs to go into research, into the health system, to make sure that we're ready and we're prepared for this, and to say we don't know and we've got to find the solutions, and please do it with the people that are concerned. Don't prescribe, have these conversations with people that are involved in it, because then it brings me back to what Seema had said, the discrimination and the feeling that this is not something I can talk about. Same thing happened with HIV and AIDS, the same thing's happening with LGBTQI communities, and so too with mental health, is that feeling that I cannot come out and talk about this. And therefore there are no solutions and there will be no healing to it. But and then maybe just to shout out to Gabrielle, I was in Barbados yesterday for about 3 days, and it was an amazing experience to see strong, powerful women's voices, starting from your Prime Minister, but also your parliamentarians and those that were talking on the global supply chain to climate. And the issue of food security, and flying over Barbados and seeing scorched earth, because there's a lot of brown, so everyone is waiting, for the rains and to really deal with that. So again, I'm sure climate is going to cause a lot of anxiety too. Back to the mental health.
Thank you, DSG. Thank you, Executive Director. Thanks to all our incredible guests for this conversation that really just starts us on our journey of, as we delve deeper into the data, as we learn more, as we receive the information coming from all of these intergenerational dialogues, we're looking forward to sharing that next part of the conversation. So we have this small tradition here where we end with asking each of you one word of how you're feeling right now about moving forward around We the Women. And so let me start with Seema, one word from you.
I feel optimistic, actually very optimistic, and we need to capture that.
Alice?
I feel love. I think we need more love. I think there's a lot of hate speech, a lot of discrimination. I think love, love, and love.
Thank you. Gabrielle?
My word would absolutely be equity. Equity is the perpetual doorway to opportunity for all, so definitely equity.
And Angela?
I feel mobilized. I feel that with all of the information that's coming in through the survey and the intergenerational dialogues, it's such a wonderful moment for us to all come together and think through our course of action and how to make real change.
And Deputy Secretary General, the last word.
2 words. I would say that I'm incredibly hopeful, but that the struggle continues.
The struggle continues. Thank you, DSG, and to all our guests for engaging in this critical dialogue, the first of many for We the Women. We hope the discussion has highlighted the importance of women's transformative leadership. We have many more important findings in the survey, including on issues like generative AI. In the next few weeks, there'll be more opportunities to get involved, so stay tuned. And in the meantime, please follow the links on the screen. We hope that women's voices, challenges, and perspectives will help shape global solutions for the world, starting now into the Summit of the Future, and then beyond to Beijing Plus 30, and even beyond that. Again, thank you all very much, and we look forward to seeing you next time.